Hi friends, I really love making little journals, blank journals, and I was inspired to do this video to show you how to do it because I am having an online event soon, a retreat, a creative timeout retreat, and I thought, gee, wouldn't it be fun for everybody, if they so chose, to make a little journal to record their experiences in. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I have my covers, and there's also a PDF with information on how to do this. Now the covers, of course, would be your own design, your own creation. So 2 pieces of cardboard. This cardboard is from the back of a pad of mixed media paper, thick cardboard, and the measurements are in the PDF. So I was working on a larger piece and just marked this area off and did it, and then cut it out, and then cut it in half for the 2 covers. So we have our covers, and put those aside, and we're going to work on what goes in the book. So blank paper. This is a small journal. I'm using just regular copy paper. You fold it in half. You rip it down the middle. You could cut it, and then you have pieces this size, and you fold them in half, and that would be your page. So after you prepare all your folded double pages, then you simply stack them in groups of 4, and on the center of each one, did I already mention these are signatures? These are called the signatures, groups of pages that we're going to sew together. Now for this part, we're going to punch the holes that we're going to sew through so that we know that all the holes are aligned and we won't have a problem when we sew. So make a little template out of cardboard. I have the instructions and the measurements and so on in the PDF for you. And I've already done the other 3, but I'll just show you. Oh, sorry, pencil. So we're going to mark on the fold each of these 5 marks that we have on the template. And then for punching the holes, I do quite a bit. I make a fair number of journals, so I have actually a hole punch, I guess you call, a needle tool. You can also use a push pin. So I'm just going to put it on a piece of cardboard so I don't punch holes in my work surface here, and punch down through and fold it back up and set it aside with my other ones here. Now when you're folding your paper, to crisp up or sharpen this edge, you can either use a bone folder or you can use the back of a spoon to get it nice and tightly folded. And you can also use this or the back of the spoon when you are folding and ripping your papers initially, and might make it a little crisper fold and a little easier to tear. So for sewing, we're going to sew these together with a stitch called Coptic stitch, and you want to use a thread that's thicker than regular sewing thread. So I'm going to use embroidery thread, and I want a piece that's, oh, I don't know, there's 4 signatures, so maybe 7. This may not be long enough. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I should have a longer piece. So let's start again here. Maybe about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 should be long enough. It's nice if you have some beeswax to run the thread across it, and this does a couple things. One thing it does is it tends to strengthen the thread, and the other thing it does is make it less likely for the thread to tangle. Now you need a needle with a pretty big eye, and I'm using a curved needle, which is ideal. If you don't have one, a straight needle will do. Okay, so starting with our first signature, I'm going to open it up just a little bit like this, and I'm going to start by going through from the outside to the inside. Leave a tail, come back out, back in, back out, back in, and now I'm gonna make sure I don't, my thread doesn't have to be like tight as it can possibly be, but you don't want any loops. So now I'm turning to the inside, I'm going back the other way. The only thing about the curved needle, you'll see why it's helpful in a minute, but it's also kind of hard to direct properly, since the point isn't necessarily where you think it's going to be. Okay, so now we're back like this, and I want to tie a knot, and I want this knot to be as close right up at this end as I can get it. Oh. Okay, so now I've gone down, back, come out, tie a knot. Now I'm ready for the second signature. So we grab it, open it up a little bit so I can work with it, align it, and I'm going to go down through this end hole. And be sure you go through all the papers. And this is just the end here, the tail. Okay, now down through the next hole. See, this is what you have to be careful of, that you don't have these knots. Okay, I need to pull my thread through. Okay. Now, I'm moving this way. So I'm going to take the needle, go down through this stitch, up through the next one, and through that hole. So that's attached the first signature to the second one right there. Now, down through the next hole, working this way, go down through the stitch on this side of the hole, up through the stitch on the other side of the hole, and then back through that hole on the second signature. through. Okay, next one, down through the hole, down through the stitch on this side of the hole, up through the stitch on the other side of the hole, back through the hole. And I want to make sure I've got this nice and, this is kind of loose. So let's see here. There, I think that helped. Wants to get a knot, wants to get a knot. Okay. And then, whoops, there we go. Down through this last hole. We're going to come out and we're going to go, there's only one stitch now, there's no stitch on the other side of it, but we'll go down through that stitch. And now we grab our next signature, open it up a little bit to work with, lay it down, and now we're going to go through that last hole to the on the new signature, down through the next hole, pull it nice and tight. Now we're working this way, so there's no stitches on this signature we just finished like there are on the first, but there is this little what would you call it, kind of this, you have to put your needle down, get out of the way there, between these first two signatures. There. And hook it back up, and that'll catch that, I don't know what you want to call it, maybe knot. And then go back up, back through the hole. And over to the next hole. Now you're going to tuck your needle one more time between these first two signatures, catching that attachment there, and then back through the hole. Through the next hole, through the previous pair of signatures to grab that little stitch there, back through the hole. Hello, back through the hole. Oops, there, we didn't get it right. We didn't get it through all the papers. There we go. Okay. Down through the last hole. Around this little connection between the first two signatures, and so far so good. Now the final signature, of course, you can make as many signatures as you want, and you can have as many pages in each signature as you want, but using 8 sheets of paper, 8 sheets of copy paper, I think gives you 64 little pages in your book. So that's pretty good. Okay, now we're coming the other direction. We go between the previous pair of signatures, the one that we just finished sewing on, back up. So I hope I'm really trying to stay in the frame of the camera. I hope I'm succeeding. There we go. Down through. Loop around. Back through the hole. Through the next hole. Between the previous two signatures. Back through the hole. Down through the last hole. Under the connection between the previous two signatures, back up through this last hole. Make sure I've got it snug. Okay, so now I can open it up, and I'm just gonna make a loop, go through the loop, pull it tight, and that's that. Okay, so I can trim that off. Now, as far as what you do with the ends of these things, I usually just leave them, and in the end, you know, maybe put a bead or something on the end. If you have an even number of signatures, you're going to end up with your threads on opposite ends. If you have an odd number of signatures, this thread's going to come back on the fifth one, and you'll have them both on the same end. But there's our stack of pages. And now, on to the next step, which is gluing the covers onto the stack of pages. Now, I want to have a ribbon bookmark on my piece. So I've cut a piece of ribbon that I think is a nice color, it's good length. And I'm going to incorporate that when I glue this all together. And also I want to tell you that we need some holes in the covers on the outside edges. So on the front cover we need 2 holes centered, and on the back we need 1. Okay, so this is going to go like so, like so. So we're sure that we've got it oriented correctly. All right, so I'm going to do the back cover first. And for the glue, I have some PVA glue, polyvinyl acetate. And this is PVA glue from a company that sells bookmaking supplies. So PVA glue is the same as Elmer's glue. So that is fine. Easily available. And now, where did I put mine? Here it is. I want to add some water. I want it a little thinner. And then I'm going to take an old brush and, okay, so wait a minute, what did I say? the back is there. Okay. So this is going to be glued onto that. Now the first thing I'm going to do is glue this on. And then before I glue on this other piece, on the actual page, I want to get a piece of wax paper and I want to put it inside this, I've got it folded inside here so they don't get glue on the rest of the pages. Glue this. And this sticks fast quickly. Oops! I lost my... Can you believe it? Okay, so not only did I spill my glue, but I lost my bookmark. And pull that back. Put a little more glue on there. Back we go. Okay. So this piece of wax paper is no longer good for my purposes. Hold on, I'm going to clean this up and come back. Okay, I'm back. So there's our back cover. Got the wax paper between the page I glued and the previous page to protect it. Now I'm going to do the same on the front here. And by the way, most of the journals I've made, I'm using art paper, which is thicker than this copy paper, so it's a little easier to work with because it doesn't flop around. Okay, there's my cover. Let's glue that up first. Okay, I'm gonna pull this over and I'm going to weight it down and let it dry. So the best thing to do is let it dry overnight. I always like to be really careful that when I've glued something, the glue is actually good and dry. This glue adheres, I don't remember whether I already said this, it adheres really quickly. So you can't really put it down and then move it around very well. So you can put it down, peel it back up right away, but you can't put it down and move it. So just be careful when you're doing the aligning. So just to get a little ahead of ourselves, or not ahead of ourselves, but to give us a head start for when we come back, I'm going to move this out of the way. And we're going to need a closure for our little journal. And one of the things I'm going to be using, or the way I'm going to close it, is to use a button with a cord that wraps around the button. So the button's on the front cover, on the center of the open side. The cord is attached to the back cover right behind it, and you just wrap it like that, and it should stay. So, I'll show you how to make these cords. The twisted cord. So you get a piece of your embroidery thread, and you stretch it out. I've got my loose ends here, my loop end here, and I'm just going to twist it, holding it taut. Twist, twist, twist. Just keep twisting, and you'll see the cord looking like it's twisted. And then when you've got it twisted pretty darn tight, you grab the middle of it in your mouth, and then you pull the ends out in front of you and gently let go, and it will twist on its own. So here we go. There you have it. Nice little twisted cord. And tie a knot in one end. And then trim our ends off. A little tassel. And we'll be using that when we come back tomorrow for our closure. Okay, so I hope that was clear, and really is fun to do this, so I hope you give it a try. By the way, I should have mentioned that I did mention that you can use a push pin instead of one of these tools. And if you don't have a bone folder, just use the back of a spoon and just rub it along your fold. This is the button I'm going to use. Had fun yesterday looking through all my buttons to decide which one was best. I was down to 8 finalists and finally chose that guy. Okay, so I will see you when the glue's dry, and we'll finish it up. Bye-bye. Okay, so we're back now to finish up our journal, and there's just a little something I'd like to say about what we did the other day before I continue, and that is about the copy paper. So I said copy paper was fine. It is. However, when I glued the copy paper to the cover, the copy paper was really pretty thin and it didn't look so good. Plus, I was a little bit concerned about having, excuse me, the only thing that held the cover to the signatures was this one little fold of 20-pound copy paper. So I found some scrapbook paper that I thought went well with the cover, and I cut 2 pieces that would fit the same size as the double pages for our signature, and glued them on. So now we have a stiffer paper that's connecting the signature stack to the cover. And the other thing I'd like to say is, in the past I've made a lot of journals which I thought I had made with copy paper. And here's one, and as I look at it, it's heavier paper. So I'm remembering back, most of the journals that I make are for doing art in, so I use like mixed media paper, some sort of thicker art paper. For this one, where I was just going to write, I did not use art paper, but on the other hand, I didn't use copy paper either because that's a little thin. I found some resume paper. And also this is constructed in a different way. The signatures are sewn in individually to the canvas cover. Anyway, So the copy paper will work, but you might prefer a heavier paper. Copy paper typically is a 20-pound weight, and if you can find like a 26-pound weight of resume paper or presentation paper, you might be happier with the results. I'll have to show you at some point how to make these little canvas covered journals, because they're really fun if you like to paint on canvas. Okay, so back to ours. So here we have our journal, and we've got the ribbon, we've got the covers on, and now what we're going to do is go ahead and do the button closure. So the holes that I had for the button and for the cord have now been covered up by the copy paper and the scrapbook paper that I used to make that attachment to the cover more substantial. So I have to repoke those holes from the outside. So the button is really simple, sewing on a button basically. There's just one little trick, which I will show you. So I'm using the same embroidery thread that I used for the signatures and for making the twisted cord. Threading my needle. Oh, you know what? Well, I didn't get all the threads, but I'm also wondering if this is going to go through these holes. Yes, it will. Okay, that's good. Now, this button has 4 holes, but I'm only going to use 2. All right. Up through a hole. Down through the other hole. Down through the hole in the journal. Up through the other hole. And up through and now I'm going to go up through that first hole. And pull. Okay, so now I've got the tail coming out from underneath the button. I'm going to go down, up. I don't need, maybe just one more is plenty. But now when I come up, I'll try really hard. Well, let's see. Put it through here. Let's go down through that other hole without going through to the back. Okay, now I can tie this knot. Double knot, tie it pretty tight. Maybe I'll tie yet another one. Although, you know, if the button should come off, it's not the worst thing in the world. And then I can cut these ends so that they don't really show. Okay, now we have our button on. Now for the twisted cord. So on the loop end of the cord, I'm going to pull that loop apart. And in that loop, I have a piece of thin wire here, and I'm going to put this through this loop, and now I have kind of a way to pull it through. So I'm going to go turn to the back go through the hole, pull this guy through, remove the wire, and hold that loop open. I'm going to thread the other end through the loop, close back up again, and there we have it. So now to close my journal, I just wrap a couple times. If you think this is too long, just tie another knot, and in fact I will do that. I'll show you. Tie another knot where you think you want, where you think the right length is, and cut about a 1/2 inch away from the knot. There we are. So now I did one more thing, and I actually should have done it before I put this. I would have done it before I put this cord through, which is I have a Krylon, where are we? Krylon 18 karat gold leafing pen. So I'm just gonna cut the edges. No, cut the edges. Decorate the edges of my covers. And I just take I have to trim any excess paper that I have as best I can, or fold it back. And then go ahead and put this gold on. I love these Krylon leafing pens. The only thing is that if you haven't used them in a while, it takes some doing to get the ink back down into the nib. So, you know, you just have to shake it up and then pump it to get the ink flowing. And maybe I actually do store them flat, so that shouldn't be an issue about how I'm storing them. So there's the journal. Now, what I see here is these ends are sticking out, and if that's really going to bother me, what I can do is I can get a knife and I can trim these down, or I can trim them down with the scissors, or I can just leave them as they are. But I like my little journal, and let's put the bookmark down. There she is. And I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do with these ends. Probably just put a dab of glue and then cut them quite short. So there we are. It says Little Book of Big Ideas. And the covers are sealed. They're sealed with matte gel medium. So they have a matte finish and not a gloss finish. Of course, you can put a gloss finish on if you prefer, but they are sealed, so you could clean it off a little bit if you needed to. So that's the journal. I'm very happy with it. I hope that you enjoyed it, and we'll try it yourself. And maybe in the future I'll be back to show how to do this type with the canvas cover, because they're fun too. And you get to use a lot of buttons if you want. Okay, so enjoy. Thanks for watching, and take care. Bye-bye.